everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Convergence Knowledge Bytes, and where we take complex business topics and break them down into bite-sized chunks with a Y for business leaders and owners to understand how to make better decisions with their companies and their spending. And today we have one of my favorite partners of Convergence Networks, who I've known for a very long time, Mr. Howard Gordon, who's now with Bluewave. Which is a unique organization that offers a lot of technology advisory and sourcing services. In particular today, though, today's topic is really going to be about internet service providers, ISP relationships, as well as some unique solutions that Bluewave offers to small and mid-sized businesses. And Howard and I go way, way back. Almost 15 years. Howard, do you want to do a quick introduction for yourself for the folks who are watching and listening?
Absolutely. My name is Howard Gordon. Again, thank you, Jack, for the introductions. I'm with Bluewave Technology Group. I have been in the telecom space for 20 years in the local regional Portland market and love being a part of the relationship with Convergence.
Yeah. Howard has followed me from two other managed service providers as well. So he and I have had a relationship for a very, very long time, and has been an excellent resource for my clients as well as our team's customers when they have needs around internet service and some telephony solutions as well. So Howard, quickly, obviously it's different back from the Forestel days. Bluewave's bigger, right? More offerings, more capabilities, but give us kind of a quick explanation of who Bluewave is and overall just your general role, right? And what you're doing for small, mid-sized businesses.
Very good. Yeah, as Jack mentioned, the company I used to be with was called Forestel. We went through an acquisition in June of 2024. So in doing so, a very similar model. Bluewave Technology Group is a national company, whereas Forestel had 6 or 7 employees. We employ approximately 130 across 24 states. So our model is very similar. Still providing comprehensive telecommunications support from cradle to grave. We can shop with over 500 voice and data providers nationally and overseas. So we'll shop on their behalf to try to find the best service. Our team will project manage everything in conjunction with the carrier. And then post-sale, we provide a comprehensive white glove support. And that's all free to the client. There's no additional cost for our involvement.
That's awesome. And ideal because Convergence also is now an international company with our, 280 plus employees with 5 locations now. So having a partner like Bluewave in our back court always helps so that you can serve both our Canadian and our US-based organizations. And so I want to kind of jump into the questions because I am sure that I am not the only person with these kinds of questions. So I hope this helps others understand a little bit better. But can you briefly explain the, 7 or 8 kind of different factors that impact the cost of an internet service and an ISP service plan for us, kind of at a high level, sort of starting with maybe the type of connection?
Sure. So yeah, with internet connectivity, there's a broad range of products. We start off with your shared or non-dedicated type services, your cable connections,
Okay.
DSL connections,
Okay.
satellite. So inevitably with these kind of products, they are competitive from a price position.
Sure.
But inevitably, the dilemma is it's shared. So if the guy down the street is streaming World of Warcraft on his coax connection, that will affect your speed. In the same context with DSL, if they're doing work close by on your connection affiliation, it's lowering your speed. Then there's dedicated services. So with dedicated service, it's a 99.99% uptime guarantee. You're going to get that up and down speed that they talk about will be the same. So you'll 100 meg service, it's 100 meg up and down, and you get that every day, all day. Okay. In addition, if it goes down, the phone companies have to pay you back money. with those coax connections or the non-dedicated services,
Hmm.
there's no guarantee for uptime. So that's really one of the main differentiators. Satellite, of course, there's
Yeah.
the orbit and low orbit services that, in essence, reflect their speeds. We sell a Starlink service as well as Viasat. So we have a lot of options for primary and secondary internet.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm assuming then a shared connection obviously is going to be less expensive. And
That
as
is
you get
true.
into dedicated or even fiber, that changes your spend on a monthly basis. And it sort of increases in the monthly service plan, right? What about speed though?
Good question. So, as I sort of hinted with these non-dedicated services, there are two numbers that you see, and a lot of people don't really understand what they are. But one of them is your download speed. If you type CNN.com, that's where you're utilizing that speed. The second is your upload. Okay.
Okay.
And with those non-dedicated services, that second number is critical because a lot of times when you're doing work in the cloud, having uploads is paramount. So
Oh, sure.
yeah, you don't get a fast upload for the most part with non-dedicated services, cable and DSL and satellite. With
Okay.
dedicated, you are getting that higher speed, and that's more ideal for people needing to work, within a Teams environment or cloud voice or offsite data backup, for example.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So the upload is really critical. But a lot of times there's sort of variability in data caps or usage. How does that play into the service plan, and what's sort of the differential that you see when it comes to how much somebody's going to spend?
Yeah, so data caps do vary based on the product. I mean, if the
Okay.
the cable cos see that non-dedicated service being overutilized, they'll cap you.
Oh,
You sort of get what you paid for inevitably, and at the lower cost options,
uh-huh.
that's the pros and cons. With dedicated service, it's pretty much all you can eat. There's no data cap. You can use as much throughput as you want, but
Mhm.
as Jack mentioned, it is higher in cost.
Yeah. So if I have 100 megs up and 100 megs down, that's my speed, right? But the amount of data I can transfer over that back and forth between my office and the cloud, right, for wherever the internet circuit is done, or if you have people remoting into, say, a server on prem that's sitting in an office because you've sort of distributed your staff, your download and upload speed is really the amount of traffic, but under those dedicated plans, there's no cap on how much you can go up and down. So that is really critical from a standpoint of backup, obviously, in disaster recovery. Um, how do I know it's going to be available, though? I see this word all the time, right? The SLAs. That's what people, what does that mean? 99.9% uptime. And that's almost like up all the time.
Yeah, very true. SLA acronym for service level assurance or service level guarantee.
Sure.
Companies have to, you're paying more money for that service. So they're going
Yeah.
to guarantee it's going to work 99.99% of the time. If
Okay.
it doesn't, if you experience an outage, inevitably they've got to pay you back money. And yes, it's prorated, but still, it's in their best interest to build their infrastructure to support a high uptime product. They don't want to pay you back money.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
those non-dedicated services, DSL and cable, it's best efforts if it goes down. If the wind blows wrong and you're down, there's no guarantee when it's going to come back. They don't owe you anything.
Mm.
It's just the nature of the business.
That kind of makes sense. That, but I like the fact that it's something is it always built in where they have to pay you back, or it is for a dedicated?
For a dedicated service.
Okay. All right.
So all the carriers have different flavors of dedicated service, but most of them will pay you back the money.
Okay. So, sometimes, most of the time, equipment's involved. How does that affect the cost?
So usually equipment for both non-dedicated and dedicated is required. Okay.
Yeah.
So with non-dedicated, like the cable company, they want you to rent their modem.
Hmm.
Not necessary in some cases, but for the most part, that's a reoccurring charge. You're going to pay
Hmm.
Comcast or Spectrum or Cox $30 a month to have that modem. Uh,
Okay.
and so, in the case with dedicated providers, that isn't necessarily true. You can connect to your IT network and your ISP via your internal equipment. Okay. If
Mm.
you want to have what's called a managed router, where the carrier can actually see you being up and be able to monitor that service, there is an additional fee for that. So, really,
Okay.
case by case basis, but we'll help you navigate what's available and give you a menu option of different things you can do.
Okay. Awesome. And then obviously carrier changes happen, right? One reason or another, somebody needs more, as you say, speed, right? Or they want to change their type of connection, or they're just not happy with the service they're getting. What about the installation or activation? How does that impact? Does that always a one time, or does it get waived? Is it wrapped into the recurring service sometimes? What are the variables there?
Good question. So, in a lot of cases, if the service is available at your building,
Yeah.
there's there's one it's a one-time cost. Now, if
Okay.
fiber construction, a lot of times the carriers will aggregate that over the term length. So when they
Hmm.
give us a price, let's say you're looking for a gigabit internet connection, they'll go
Sure.
ahead and evaluate what construction looks like and then give us a price for that said service. The
Mm.
price of that service will take the installation and bundle it in, if you will, as part of the quote. Okay.
Oh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah. Now, let's be real clear. Telecom isn't an exact science. When they do their formal survey, or
Hmm.
let's say they start doing the evaluation and they find the conduit is broke or there is an issue, if they come back and say, okay, we have to raise our installation costs, at that point, you have, as the client, the right of first refusal. You can cancel the order right there and walk away if construction does go sideways. And I've seen it happen, but know that we're your advocate. We'll make sure we're looking out for your best interests.
Okay, and just to clarify, is that a Bluewave thing, or is that typically with the carriers that you have that ability to say, "Hey, wait a minute, this is actually way more expensive than we thought it was going to be," or "We weren't ready for that. We need to rethink our plan."
Well, it's both. Okay, so
Okay,
the carrier is going through their commitments to take a look at the site. And
yeah,
really, when we get a price, they're not boots on the ground. It's an
sure,
initial. They're looking at a Google Map overlay of what they think costs will be to bring
yeah.
fiber. Once you sign and the order's moving, then at that point they're coming on site, they're determining if there's any issues that can arise. At
So
that
is
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
that means it's kind of estimated
Correct.
initially, which is, I think, a misunderstanding in a lot of times with business owners is that they see a number and they think it's fixed. And mentally, their mind, if you come back, it feels kind of awkward for a business or from your perspective. But it's good for people to understand that installation and activation, especially if you're thinking about a carrier change, right?
Yeah.
Or if it's the same carrier and you're looking at a new plan, an upgraded plan, that can even impact things as well. Because if you were on a cable, but you're looking to get a fiber plan, the wire may not be there. So that estimate of the installation or activation of the circuit for you is important. One of the things I also understand and comes up a lot of times when we're looking at new construction, this has happened a couple times where the building organization or the contractor that built the building says, "Oh, it's activated and it's hot," but turns out it's not going from the hub or the pole, if you will, to the building, or it's only into one section of the building and not the other suites of the building. And so there's surprises when stuff like that comes up as well. And that happens probably a lot more frequently with new construction. where there's a bit of ambiguity as far as where did the contractor pull to the wire, or where did the carrier pull the wire to, and did the contractor bring it into the building to a closet or not? And does that need to be built out by a third party or whomever else, right? And that all can kind of vary depending on you said the boots on the ground, right? When they really get into doing that. So the other part that kind of comes up a lot is I see 3-year terms, 5-year terms. What does the contract term have to do with how much I'm going to be spending for my internet service at my business?
Yeah, that's another great question. The term length does all vary.
Okay.
You can sign a 1-year, 2, 3, or 5-year contract. If
Okay.
this is new construction, that gives the carrier longer time to break out that construction cost.
Oh, yeah.
So inevitably, your costs will go down. Also, in the same context, with those longer term lengths, the carrier will offer you lower pricing. So with shorter term lengths, anticipate your monthly spend to be higher. There
Yeah.
are a few differences, a few cases where that's not necessarily the case with your non-dedicated service, like Comcast, for example. They may offer, this is the cable company, Comcast, they may
Hmm.
offer a lower price point, the same price point for a shorter term length, but a higher one-time install. So
Oh, interesting. So it's kind of a bit of a give and take.
give and take and
Okay.
get each engagement individually, try to understand the client's needs, and I'll present the whole spectrum of options and let the client determine which is their best fit.
Interesting. Okay, so the other stuff that kind of can be variable, but what are the typical add-ons that will impact that monthly expense when it comes to the internet service? One of the things we see all the time, obviously, is a static IP, but what else?
Yeah, static IP is a big one.
Okay,
The equipment, if there's that modem or some kind of hardware. In the case with dedicated services, there's what's called a managed router. So
sure, yeah, you mentioned it.
necessary, but it does ensure that the client can, have the carrier monitor the service with the cable bundles. So with a Comcast or Spectrum, a lot of times they'll bundle in their security software or a 4G backup connection.
Mm.
So those are options. Now, if you don't want that, a lot of times the bundle isn't available for you, and that may raise
Oh,
costs. So
yeah, because it's kind of like you got to buy the whole can of soup. You can't just pull out the chicken and the noodles and leave the.
great
Yeah.
analogy, Jack.
Yeah, it's already been packaged. You got to buy it off the shelf as is. All
Exactly.
right. Well, what other types of solutions does Blue Wave provide to the small, mid-sized business in terms of like the network connectivity or the non-Teams phone solutions? Because obviously Convergence does that. I know you all do too, but Teams phone is something that we have a specialization in. But what other things are you all doing for small and mid-sized businesses?
Yeah. So again, we have the ability to represent quite a few carriers for internet. Uh,
Um,
we sell voice services like traditional voice, PRI, analog phone lines,
yep.
SD-WAN, which is a technology
Oh
that
yeah.
allows you to have multiple internet connections connect into the business and then have seamless failover. There's a device sitting on the network that can uh, aggregate multiple connections and then seamlessly route traffic from one connection to another, and the client is, in this point, unaware. So
Yeah.
very
Wow.
nice feature. And then in the cloud voice space, we sell all the traditional carriers, Ring Central, GoTo, Nextiva. And when we're involved, we're giving the client that white glove approach. It's
Hmm.
the same price if you order these directly, but with our involvement, we're helping facilitate any kind of changes. You can engage us 24/7 for support. So yeah, I mean that's what Blue Wave can offer.
Yeah. And, you know, I mean, we'll wrap up this first episode. We've got two planned for everybody. But it takes a lot of the noise out having a partner like Blue Wave, right? Because otherwise you're chasing three or four carriers, right? Three or four sales representatives, three or four different variables, right? And it's hard sometimes to wade through all that noise. And in part why you and I have had such a long-standing relationship around connectivity and telephony solutions for over 15 years. You make it kind of the easy button for a business leader to make a choice, and allow them to sort of wade through their options and pretty agnostic about what do you choose and why do you choose it. So, well, that's going to wrap this episode around internet service. We're kind of breaking it all down for you. We've got some more interesting things to share about Bluewave in our next episode that we'll do. We've got a two-part series here about our great partner. Thanks again, Howard, and stay tuned for the next episode when we go through a little bit more about the solutions, unique advantages of Bluewave, and some fun, a couple of case study stories of client success that we'll go through in the next one. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye now.